Hangover presents Anthology Obscura.
Welcome to another edition of Anthology Obscura. I'm Louie, and I'm joined by
Sam. It's me. Hi.
And Manny.
And we're going to be talking about the Tales from the Darkside episode, Trick or Treat. Now, Chris and I covered the Love Hungry episode a while back, so I'm not going to go into my love for Tales from the Darkside because I did talk about it in that episode, so go back, check that out. I talk about all the spooky, creepy vibes it gave me as a kid. But, Manny, what's your history with Tales from the Darkside?
Long and storied. It was a cold winter night. No. Dude, I don't even know. Like, I've been watching this my whole life. I literally remember watching this. I had a little TV set, like 12-inch TV set that was on top of my dresser. I can remember laying in bed at night with my brother's crib next to, when we shared a bed, when we shared a room. I remember watching Tales from the Crypt and not Tales from the Crypt because it was way before that. Tales from the Darkside and Twilight Zone at night. Like my whole life. Like, that's it, dude. It's just always been there. It's just always been there. There's nothing more than that.
Tales from the Darkside is your comfort food. It's just always been on forever.
Yep, it's always been there. It's always been part of my evening viewing. That's it.
My understanding, my memories don't go very far back lately because I don't know, I'm just forgetting shit. But my memory.
Welcome to getting old.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
My memory of Tales from the Darkside, all my memories come from being at my grandmother's house and whatever Louis put on the cable television. That's and it was reruns. The same thing for a lot of the stuff that we've seen. That's it. Being at grandma's house, and the music, the intro music, terrified the shit out of me, which is so funny because the music is so eerie and creepy, but the actual intro isn't very scary. It's just stills of the forest and scenic escapes. And I'm like, okay. It's cool.
And it goes inverted to make it creepy. That's basically what happens.
Some high-tech shit.
Not as brightly lit.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what everyone knows.
So
I think people know the intro more than an episode. I think everyone knows the Tales from the Darkside intro to the show.
It was traumatizing. It was
the voiceover,
the Unsolved Mysteries music. Just
yes.
It was Tales from the Darkside, Unsolved Mysteries, and A Current Affair. That music, all of them, they all had that music that did it to you.
Exactly, and
Just
I think
gives you flashbacks.
and I've said it before on whenever we cover an anthology show. I think all good anthology shows have iconic music cues or just intro music.
Yeah.
I think if you think about all of them, they all have it.
Which is such a shame. It's such a shame. We're so spoiled now. We have the option to skip the intro.
Because most of the time they suck, so skip it.
We skip the intro. If I'm really into a show, I will force myself to let the intro play every time because I want the full experience.
That's how I am with Stranger Things. I don't ever skip the intro.
I want to feel it.
Man, he's like, I skip it. I hit that
Game
skip button.
Game of Thrones. Always, I let the intro play every single time. Last of Us, more recently, I let it play every single time. I want to see all of it.
I will admit, the Last of Us intro music isn't that memorable. I don't think it is.
I skipped that too.
Man, he's like, yo, I skipped all of them. He's like, I don't give a shit. If I could skip it, I could save myself a minute.
Let me watch it.
You know what? It's all dependent on how good the show really is.
That's what it is.
Last of Us was good.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great.
Yeah.
It was good, but I really liked it. But I wanted more zombies. I wanted more gore. I feel like the game had a whole hell of a lot. But I felt like we had like 10 episodes and we saw maybe zombies in like 3 of them.
Yeah.
They're gonna drag
You
it
know?
out. They're gonna drag it out though.
Yeah, drag
Not
it out. It's been 20
not
years.
worth the
How much-
intro. Not worth the intro.
Not
Tales
worth
from
the
the
intro.
Tales from the Dark Side. Worth the intro.
Would you, Manny? Would you skip
I
the
can't skip the Tales from the Dark Side one because I'm watching it on the DVD. When you skip it goes to the middle of the episode, so I can't skip it.
You don't have that
like,
It's not
luxury.
an option. It's not an option.
Funny enough,
But no.
this isn't streaming anywhere. Like, if you want to stream this, so obviously, you know.
Gotta go to Manny's house.
No, well, I own the seasons as well. Yeah, I own them
Yeah.
on DVD. They're not on Blu-ray, to my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the only way you can watch them, or you can watch them on the Internet Archive, and some of them are on YouTube. I don't know how legal that is, but they're up there. I believe, Sammy,
Probably
you watched
quite
them
not.
on one of those.
I watched it on the archive.
There you go. I think the Internet Archive is kind of legal. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
They
there you
ain't
go.
catching me, so
They're not gonna
like to
catch
see
you
'em try.
slipping.
Yeah,
I'm
I
watching
think
all
even
the
things
Tales from the
on.
Dark Side on Internet Archives.
yeah.
I think even like copyrighted things that are on Internet Archive like gave them the permission to have it. You know,
Yeah.
like Canopy.
Yes.
You know, there's a lot of things on
Yeah.
Canopy that are allowed to be on there because they have a deal with libraries and stuff.
Yeah, it's
So-
interesting. Internet Archives is an interesting place. You can find like old Monster Vision episodes there with Joe
Mm-hmm.
Bob, like full ones with the movie. Wild.
I know I downloaded his Halloween 3 episode,
That's a good one.
and I haven't watched it yet. I haven't
That's
watched
a good
it yet.
one. That's a good one. Yes, but before we go on several more tangents, let's jump into Trick or Treat, Tales from the Dark Side, Trick or Treat, because there are several other things called Trick or Treat. This isn't the
Several.
first. This isn't the first thing. The first show with an episode titled Trick or Treat that we've covered on Haunted Hangover. So there's that.
It's Halloween, gentlemen. Halloween! Have you forgotten? My favorite season.
So, Tales from the Dark Side, Trick or Treat, was released on October 23rd, 1983, and it's the pilot episode of the program. Real quick, there's a couple of actors I want to point out. There's two actors in this episode I want to show some love to. Bernard Hughes plays the lead. I believe it's Gideon Hackles. That's the
Gideon Hackles.
the main character in this episode. That's his name. That dude's been in a bunch of stuff. Midnight Cowboy, Sisters, Brian De Palma film, Hamlet. Pretty relatively known actor. Usually played older people because I believe his career took off much later in life. So he always was
Yeah.
like an older, kind of assertive character. Also in this episode, and I just thought it was kind of funny, and I forgot he was in this. You have Max Wright, Willie Tanner from Alf. I'm a big Alf fan. So I was like, oh shit, Willie Tanner, Max Wright is in this episode. So I got a kick out of that. Also, I don't think this really counts as a cast member, kind of. Apparently, Tim Curry provided the laugh
I saw that.
of the pirate monster thing in the so
Interesting.
kind of random because it's just
I
a
know.
laugh. And 1983, I'm assuming Tim Curry was not a no-name. This is way after Rocky Horror. So 83, Tim Curry was a pretty well-known actor. So I thought that was really odd when I saw
Yeah,
that in
and
the
just an
trivia.
excuse to get his name in the credits there. I saw that too. And I was like, well, I'm curious, but I'm also not gonna play it again to go find his voice. It seems excessive.
Yeah, it was a little random when I saw that. All I can think is that they're just recycling his voice from something else, like the laughter.
Probably.
They probably just
That's what I'm
grabbed it
thinking.
and plugged it in because they're like, he has a pretty iconic, it's just very memorable and it's distinct.
Yeah.
Tim Curry's laugh. So I'm guessing maybe that's what it was. Maybe they had no intention on publicly saying it's Tim Curry, but obviously with trivia and the internet, you can find everything out these days.
You're not going to mention Bob Balaban,
Oh yeah, sorry, Bob
the
Balaban.
director.
I forgot. Yeah, what did he
The
direct?
director, Bob Balaban.
What did he direct in this?
Very, very few, but he's Arthur in Altered States.
Oh,
He's the partner in Altered States.
I did not know that.
Yeah, he's one of the executives in Seinfeld. Like he's a big name. He's a big actor, which is really odd that he did that because he hasn't directed much at all.
Was it just this and a couple other little things?
I mean, yeah, he's done. I mean, like I looked it up and I forgot already.
All Tales from the Darkside episodes. That's all. That's all he's directed.
He got 2 episodes of Twilight Zone. But he looks like he directed a lot of TV.
Oh.
And he directed My Boyfriend's Back.
The classic
The movie.
Classic
Yeah,
film. What was that? 92,
not-
91? My Boyfriend's Back.
Let me see. Look at that. He directed Erie, Indiana.
Oh, another great show
Yeah,
that we've covered here at Haunted Hangover. So
Yeah, it looks like he's just done a lot of TV. This is actually, it looks like this is the first thing he ever directed.
Oh, cool.
He did this,
Fun
Amazing
facts.
Stories. He directed Parents. I did not know that. I just saw Bob Balaban and I was like, oh.
Yeah,
'Cause
well,
like I said, he's an
Altered
Altered
States
so.
is one of your favorite movies. So you know what? I don't see you
All
seeing
me.
You won't let that go through fall through the cracks. So, but yes, the little episode synopsis breakdown of what happens in Tales from the Darkside Trick or Treat. So it follows Gideon Hackles. He's an insanely cheap and grumpy old businessman, and the town he lives in, for some reason. To my knowledge, they don't outright tell you why this is, but everyone that lives there owes him money, IOUs. He does own a shop, I think it's like a general store, and I'm assuming that's where all the IOUs
Well, it's a
into play.
farming community, and they said that the crops have been
Yeah.
shit for a while. But how long that the entire town owes this guy? Like the one guy owes him so much money, he's going to take the entire farm. Like how much crap have you bought from this guy's store that he can take your farm for it? Like he's not taking your farm for some jelly rings. Like
Yes. how many loaves of bread does a farm? You know what I mean? It is. I found that odd too when I was watching the episode. I was like, okay,
it's a very Ebenezer Scrooge type
Yes.
setup.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes. And you get that vibe right away when watching this episode. That's basically even kind of the whole performance reminds you of Scrooge. That's kind of what you think of. But yes, everyone owes him literally IOUs. He's got a stack of them. This man has a stack of IOUs. And those come into play. Kind of the overall MacGuffin, I guess, of this film. It's the IOUs, right? Because every Halloween, Mr. Hackles rigs up his home into basically a haunted house, like a haunted attraction. And he allows the children from the town to enter his home and search for the IOUs. Now, if they find these IOUs, basically their entire family's debt scrubbed away. They don't have to pay him any money. They don't owe him shit. And you kind of get the sense, because you see it throughout the episode, that this happens every year and all these kids fail because of all of his creepy contraptions. And I have a list of everything this guy has in his house, and we'll get to that a little later. I wrote down every single effect this guy has in his home, and I got a kick out of that. I also love how he's grumpy, cheap, and just a terrible person, but loves Halloween. So he's good in my book. I'll
He's
let him
cool.
slide.
He's not that bad. He's misunderstood. He's
just
misunderstood.
He lights a jack-o'-lantern every year, but he's just a cheapskate and horrible to the entire town. It is what it is. Give and take. Gotta just
Keeping
give
the
and
holiday
take.
alive.
He's keeping the holiday alive. No one else can celebrate, though, even though the kids are still wearing costumes and they're still trick-or-treating. Who's
That
giving
they
out
bought
candy?
from him.
Yeah,
That they
Yeah.
owe him the money for.
Obviously.
That IOU, that's your costume right there.
That's your costume. That's the pumpkin pail. That's the candy your parents
That father
bought.
came in wanting to buy a costume, and I can't pay cash for this. What was it, $10? How fucking poor are you? Like, I'm not trying nothing against, but like in this scenario, like seriously, like you owe this guy everything. You can't even buy your kid a costume, so he can go into this creepy old man's house and find
And
your
save
debt.
the family.
It is pretty ridiculous when you think
It's
about
a
it.
bit much.
It is
On
a
top
bit
of that,
much.
the house isn't even that scary, but you'll get into that.
Yes.
I feel like these kids are a bunch of pussies.
That's basically what you get whenever you see these kids. because you get a montage or a couple of scenes that's basically failed attempts by these children.
Yeah.
They barely make it out of the hallway.
They don't even they like step in, and the parents are all like
over.
watching them from the front porch, like, all right, go in. You can find the IOUs. One kid almost makes it, but I want to get into that later. But yeah, once again, all these kids, all the trick-or-treaters, they're coming home and they're going to Mr. Hackle's house in their costumes. They're looking for the IOUs. But what ends up happening is, after all these attempts from all these kids, a very real and very creepy witch, like a traditional witch, shows up. And Mr. Hackles thinks the trick-or-treater, but then quickly learns that it's not. This is some sort of supernatural force. And the episode ends with him literally stumbling into hell because all of his money and IOUs are flying. Well, not the IOUs, the money specifically. Well, yeah, the IOUs too are flying and kind of all over the place because of wind and supernatural powers from this witch. And he just stumbles into hell. He sees the devil. He sees demons. And the episode ends with the little boy and father. Well, the little boy, not the father. The little boy that you mentioned, that his father couldn't afford paying for anything, so he had to give up his farm, entering the house and getting all this money, getting all the IOUs, and leaving and passing a gravestone with Mr. Hackle's name on it. And that was Tales from the Darkside, Trick or Treat.
Since you're new to the valley, Billy, perhaps you don't know that every Halloween I take all these IOUs and I hide them in my house. Then I invite all you young trick-or-treaters to come and search for them. And if you find them, all of your father's debts are forgiven, forgotten, cancelled forever.
There's a couple things about this episode I wanted to talk about. First thing, this is very reminiscent of the Trick or Treat segment with Sam from the film. This had to have been the inspiration to an extent, because that movie's not about a guy who's cheap and a scumbag to the townspeople. He's just a guy that hates Halloween and was shitty to children in the movie. But it follows similar beats. You've got this old man and you've got this supernatural being that's kind of teaching this man a lesson. But it gets really weird because that last shot almost implies that he was dead the entire time, because you see.
Yeah, did that happen that fast?
That's what I was trying to figure out. That's what I was trying to figure out. It's like,
nah, it's
again, it's a TV show.
It's a horror movie. It's a horror TV show for kids.
And this episode is 20. It's not for kids. I wouldn't say this is for kids.
This is for kids. Yeah. What are you kidding me?
I guess was Tales from the Darkside like there's the demographic children? I guess.
Dude, it was on Channel 11. Yes, it was for kids.
It's for families.
Channel 11 at 9 o'clock.
There were some scary episodes that were kind of gory at times and stuff. Well, Monsters had more of the more intense kind of creature effects and stuff. But yeah, I always when I was like rewatching this and I was trying to think about it, I was like, okay, he ends up in hell. The witch kind of like, what does the witch and the devil and Satan and all that have to do with each other? I get what they have to do with each other. It's evil forces, whatever. But was he dead the whole time? Like that to me,
No,
I like the idea. Like to me, this would have been cool if he would have like not died or just died after the fact, and maybe there was like one last shot of them like wheeling his body out, and then the kid getting all the like that almost like none of this. There was no kind of remnants of anything supernatural happening, and he just kind of died of fright, you could say, kind of a taste of his own medicine, because that's what he's been doing with the town. But they decided to go like a batshit insane like route with it.
No, the devil actually does it to him. When his money goes all over the place, the devil tells him, well, come get it.
Yeah.
Just like he does to the kids, come and get it. So he's going in for his money, and and then now the devil's got him. So supernatural. Hey, we make
that's what I got from it
tombstones
too.
real fast.
I didn't think he was dead the whole time. I was kind of like, oh, okay. That was fast. I guess they had 22 minutes and they wanted to get it all in there without having to jump time.
Yeah.
But I figured it was just kind of like the etchings on this empty gravestone magically appeared after he died. You know what I mean?
Well, the gravestone said, "Here lies Gideon Hackles, a businessman. He took it all with him when he went." So, like, implying that he took all of his money, very much like Scrooge, like Manny said before. Kind of, he took everything when he died, which isn't true
greedy.
because that's not true because the boy left with
all his monies,
with the money and the IOUs. So even that
boy left
doesn't really make much sense.
Did he have the money? I thought he just had the IOUs. He had a stack of IOUs, and they all blew away.
He was throwing stacks of The witch was throwing stacks of cash at him.
Oh yeah,
it was like a
And
strip
bags
club,
of
basically
change,
inside.
Just raining dollars.
It was just raining dollars on the kid,
raining.
and he was loving every second of it. But what did you guys?
Hey, I don't blame him.
Well, what did you guys think of the episode, Sammy? I'll start with you. This is the first time you had ever seen this, right?
First time I've ever seen this. I love Sir Gideon. I think he's so funny. He's such a character, that guy.
Sir Gideon.
He's just so. I love him. His little cackle and then the mannerisms. I thought he was awesome. He was definitely my favorite part of it. And you know me, I always like to go to the acting. And man, them kids were bad, huh? Bad acting. I especially like to make fun of children. So I feel like it goes hand in hand. It goes hand in hand. They were just so bad. I have to point this out because I had a good laugh about it. But poor Billy, they just drew a little swirly mustache on him, and that was his costume.
That's all he could afford.
They were so poor.
He was a swirly mustache guy. I just thought that was so great. I loved it. I feel like I like how this big turn, like this drastic turn in like special effects that the episode takes. We see all like these like handmade props that Gideon put in his apartment. I thought it was so dope. The dedication and the love and the compassion for this holiday. But they're like cheaply made, little house decorations. And then like they throw the witch and the devil and then like some fortune teller and like a ghost and with like this insane makeup. Like beautifully done, like special effects makeup. I was like, oh shit, okay. You don't really take it terribly seriously until you saw that witch pull up to the door. You're like,
the witch is really creepy looking.
So good.
Yeah,
I
she's
thought
all
it was awesome.
dry and gross, nasty teeth.
And the
hair.
devil with his like big juicy lips and his creepy little teeth.
No, what an odd looking devil that was.
Oh man,
I get what they were
loved it.
going for. I know I did too, but I was like, yeah, what's up with the lips?
Why was he so sexy?
Yes,
why was he sexy?
It was definitely a vibe they were going with that devil.
You're getting hotter. You're getting hot. Gideon, much hotter.
You mentioned and before we go into Manny's thoughts on the episode, you mentioned his house, and I want to run through the list of some of the nonsense he had inside of his haunted house. So this is what he has. He's got laughing monster skeletons. He's got a fake flying bat with glowing eyes. He's got faux crows. There's lightning and thunder effects in his house. There's a portrait with glowing eyes. There's a taxidermy bear, which is my favorite. That's probably my favorite. That just giant random just appears when it scares one of the kids. Taxidermy bear. And I just love all the howling. There's like ghost sounds. This guy, the dedication is real with when he was trying to do here. And then I love how he's in a room over the
like
he has
in
an
the basement
intercom.
or
He has an
something?
intercom built into this house, and he's just kind of egging on the kids. You're hot. You're cold. You're hot again. You're just as they get closer and closer to the IOU. And I do love how there's that one little boy. I believe he's dressed up as a devil, and he gets close, literally hand on the IOU, this close, and that I think it's the bear. Freaks him out, and he runs out of the house. Just a great kind of execution and making it feel like a haunted house. Like that's what kind of home haunts feel like. If you ever been to one, maybe not so much now because his items feel a little more homemade. But that's kind of what it is when you go to like a little home haunt. It's like stuff coming out of closets, and you open a door and there's just something there with its eyes glowing. And I love that.
Yeah.
Definitely had lots of Halloween vibes, which I can appreciate, specifically in Mr. Hackle's house.
Yeah.
Manny, what'd you think of the episode?
Garbage.
Oh, no.
No, it was cool. I liked it. It was cheesy. It was really cheesy. I'm sure I've seen this before, but I don't remember ever watching this specific episode. I'm sure I have because I've watched all the DVDs before.
Yeah, that's
so
the
I'm
first
sure I have.
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I have seen it. When I watched it, I'm sitting there like, have I watched this one before? Because this was the pilot. The series didn't actually start until a year later.
Yeah.
I think they aired this pilot.
I'm about 90% sure they did. Whenever you look up a list of best Tales from the Darkside episodes, this one's always on the list.
Yeah, so it was just this one episode, and the series didn't start till literally then a year later.
Which is crazy.
The actual first season, yeah. Basically, I mean, you said everything. I kind of agree with all of that. It was kind of cheesy. I like the painting is my favorite of all his creepy things. I like the painting the best. But what I did see in it is I saw George Romero. He has this episode is he wrote it, and it's very indicative of George Romero. He's got the cranky old man, which is a thing that he's done before. This is very clearly E.G. Marshall in Creepshow.
Yeah.
100%. It's that same, miserly character. He also likes this. He also seems to really like this setting of the store, because this is the store from Creepshow 2.
Yeah.
Where the whole town owes him money.
Instead, that old man
that's
nice
a nice old
everyone.
man.
Yeah,
exactly. So this is kind of like, it's like this is like that middle ground between Creepshow 1 and Creepshow 2 almost, this episode.
Yeah.
Where it's this really, really mean guy who gets who tries to get his revenge on the people who owe him money in the store that, he holds it all over them. So I just watched this. I'm like, it's George Romero. Now, I don't know. The DVD has commentary for this episode, for just this episode. I don't know if you watched it.
I haven't watched it yet.
It's almost useless. I mean, it's George Romero's commentary, but he's just talking. He's not actually talking about the episode. He's just talking about what it's like writing and what it's like doing this. When you're making a movie and you're making a show, you get an idea. He says, and I swear to God, I swear to God, he totally gave himself away. He's like, you know what it is? Sometimes you just you get an idea in the bathroom. You're in the shower and you get an idea and you write it down and then you just don't overthink it. And that's it. The idea is done. So you're telling me you came up with this idea in the fucking shower, buddy? Is that what
he was sitting on the toilet. Yeah, he was on the toilet.
He says the shower. He says the shower. Maybe he's covering for himself. I don't know.
That's funny.
But that's it. He's like you get all these little creepy ideas for a little horror scenario and just kind of write it out and then that's it. So he really so it sounds like he wrote this to be as simplistic as possible. So like the ending where you said, well, where did this tombstone come from? Get it over with. That's it.
Yeah,
you got 22 minutes. Get it over.
Yeah,
that's it. Get it over with. The devil did it. That's your explanation. It's like The Shining. It's supernatural. You don't need to explain everything.
It's funny because he's one of the creators of Tales from the Dark Side, and I believe Monsters as well, which they came out around the same time. So I guarantee, I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure this is not the only episode he was involved in the writing process for. I guarantee there's some.
Oh no, he wrote a bunch of them.
Yeah,
he
I
wrote a bunch of
guarantee. There's a couple of other ones that involve like an old man character, and I wouldn't be surprised if George Romero was involved in the screenplay for those episodes too. It is a quick watch though. I agree with that, and it kind of makes sense that you want something that's you could sit there, turn off your brain for 20.
Yeah.
Well, this technically was 30 minutes because there were commercials when you would have originally watched it. But it's 22 minutes long, so it's like it's a breeze to watch. I do want to point out something I love about the episode, and probably even stronger to me than his haunted house, which I did love. But I love the opening scene. I think that's probably the most well-written scene, where you've got Gideon Hackles, and you've got these two clerks. And something as simple as one of the clerks, Willie from Alf, that him specifically, he's asking for a second cup of coffee. And Mr. Hackles is so cheap that he's charging him 4 cents for a cup of coffee. So it really, it's a good way to kind of just get you could gauge what type of person he is just because this guy is counting his money, he's counting his pennies, he's got a penny on display. It's like, how cheap can you get? His first penny in a frame that he ever made, and he's charging one of these guys that I'm assuming hiring, they work for him, they're counting his money. Charging that guy 4 cents for a second cup of coffee. I just love that scene. I just think it's so well written. And you said that, he's really good in this. He's the best part of this entire episode.
He was
so good.
He said 4 cents cost plus 10%.
Yes.
Plus 10%. Like, wow, man, fucking 4 cents for a cup of coffee. God damn.
I know.
And he's making a profit on it.
There's a profit.
Funny.
Which also leads me to one question I have. Is this a period piece? I was trying to figure that out. Is it the 80s or is it a period piece?
Well,
I think it's the 80s.
Obviously it's the 80s.
But it's like in a very small
town.
Oh, he loves to
right?
say that the valley's backwards. Everybody in this town is so backwards. I think it's just a very small town, an outdated town. So we're in the 80s, but we're still working like we're in the 60s. That's what I got from it. I don't know.
1983 in a town that is still 1963. Yeah.
That's what because even in that one room where where he has the two clerks, which by the way, he's got a jack-o'-lantern in that room, which I love because it just shows how much he loves Halloween once again, like right from the beginning. But in that room, it feels like I don't even know. It's like a Christmas
like
Carol
Willy Wonka
time.
on his little cart with the handles. And
I was
stuff.
so confused. I was like, wait, does this take place in 83 in present time, or does this take place in, I was trying to figure that out. Then I was like, 4 cents for a cup of coffee. Like, is that accurate? Like, no. But maybe in a small town it is if you go to the local diner.
They're getting coffee from inside of his home, too. He can charge them whatever he wants.
Yeah, that's not like the store coffee.
He's charging them per ground, basically.
Yeah, exactly. He's actually figured out how much it costs to give one of his guests a cup of coffee. He's figured it out.
One more thing I think that they did a good job, and this kind of goes back to, Halloween, which is one of the reasons why I wanted us to talk about this episode, because it's set on Halloween, is I love all the transitions of the jack-o'-lantern. I just wanted to point that out. There's I think it happens twice. Is this great shot because they set it up where Mr. Hackles, he arrives at home, lights it, and then there's a couple shots in between two scenes where you cut to this really close-up shot of the jack-o'-lantern's face and this green kind of lighting inside of it, like it's lit green from the inside. I love that. And there's a lot of fog in this episode, too, which adds to the atmosphere.
Hey, you.
Trick or treat.
I feel like this whole idea of like generational trauma is quite funny as far as the writing goes. Like these poor kids, yes, I agree with Manny. They're a bunch of pussies, but these poor kids have to go and endure this whole process on Halloween when Halloween's supposed to be fun. They're supposed to endure this process of them going and getting the shit scared out of them just so they can mend their parents' debts. That sucks, dude.
Sins of
but
the
I
father.
also love that because when the episode started, I wasn't really sure where they were going with this. I was like, how are they going to tie this into a trick or treat episode? When he says it's like its favorite time of year, I was like, okay. It almost was like a combination of like Easter and going egg hunting, but also like Halloween and all the tricks that go around with it. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. I liked it a lot, but I just thought like writing wise, I just thought that was kind of funny. I don't know. I enjoyed that.
I thought it was on the same father who couldn't afford to buy his son the Halloween costume. He says, well, you're going to be there tonight. He's like, of course I have. He says that he has toughened his son with the belt.
He's giving him the whippings.
He's been kicking his son's ass, trying to toughen him up so he can make it through this haunted house.
Oh my God.
Are you kidding me?
That's so funny. That's so funny.
I don't need to laugh. We're all laughing because he's toughening up his son. Child abuse. There you go. Hysterical,
That's
I guess.
He's whipping him.
I mean, after the little devil boy, right? The Mullins. I think the last name was Mullins.
I think that's his name, Mullins.
After he leaves the house in terror, I think it's kind of funny. Gideon will like pokes his head out to see his father get like mad at him and say, "Oh, you get back in there," and you. But instead, he hugs his son, I guess, because he feels bad and he had to endure. And Gideon gets so upset. He's like, "God damn it! I wanted to see him kick his butt."
So yeah, I felt like that's what he felt bad for a moment. Like he realized how he was messing with these kids. You know, I feel like for a moment he saw it like, shit, I'm an asshole. And then he kind of rolled that back up. It's like, oh no, you guys are all wrong. It's me, I'm right. Like he had to lie to himself that what he's doing is right. You know, even though he knows he's being an asshole. And then the devil shows up.
That's one of the things.
To say, nope, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's one of the things I don't like about the episode. I wish they had a little more sympathy towards Mr. Hackles, just a little bit. I guess that's the moment where he's supposed to be a little sympathetic as a character, but I never felt any sympathy for him at all. Like, I like the character just because he's, like, so ridiculous, but there was no sympathy. I wasn't like, oh man, the devil got him, the witch got him. Like, I never felt bad for him at all. So I was just like, I wish there was just a little bit of that. Because even to kind of compare it to the Trick or Treat segment in that movie, which is similar, you do feel a little bad for the old man in that. Like, you're like, okay, he's shitty too. But you're like, God damn, how much more torture can this guy take? You know what I mean? Where in this, again, I guess it's such a short, like him being attacked by the witch and him being attacked by the devil and the demons. He's not even being attacked by them. He's more so they're just messing with his money.
Taunting him.
He's so obsessed with it that he's trying to grab it all. But like, it's so short. Like literally the screen time of those two creatures, all those creatures is only like 2 minutes. And then the episode ends. So maybe if it went on a little longer, which it wasn't necessary for this, but there could have been a way to make him a little more sympathetic, I think. That's really my only that's the only thing I didn't like about it, because you can't really overthink something like this. You know what I mean? It's not that serious.
I think, like you said, I guess if I really had to dig and find something that I didn't like, I feel like for what it was, for the 22 minutes, it's a great episode. I enjoyed it a lot. But if this is something that Gideon does every year on the same day every year, and he's been doing it for decades, which he makes very apparent that he does, what is it about that particular evening that brought these evil creatures there? Like, what is it about that night that it was like the last straw and they had to magically appear and bring him down to hell? Why this year of all years? I was just kind of, I was waiting for maybe little Billy to just make a little wish on a star or something that kind of made it make sense, because it didn't. I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, it just.
I think it's because he lied.
What do you mean?
He lied to the kid. The kid almost had, when he was ready to touch it, he said, no, you're cold, you're cold. He lied to him.
Oh, he was fucking around.
Yes. He kept telling him, you're getting hotter, you're getting hotter. And then he almost got it. He told him, no, you're cold. And he lied to the kid.
And you know, now that you mentioned that, there was kind of like a shift in the setting when that happened. And that didn't even click to me.
Yeah,
that didn't even occur to me.
I didn't even notice it, actually. I watched it with Lynn, and she caught on. She realized it. She said, "No, he said it's cold." He lied to him, and he keeps saying, "I don't lie, I don't cheat." And then he did, because he realized he was about to lose. So that might have been what did it, where the devil was like, "Okay, now you're going too far."
That didn't
asshole.
even occur to me. That's kind of awesome.
I'm coming after you just because you BS'd. And the devil does say in that scene, it's like, "Oh, you're hotter." So it's kind of mirroring.
Puts it together.
Mirroring what he did. So, I guess that's It still doesn't explain the supernatural element, but
Right.
it kind
He
of
deserves
gives
it.
he deserves
It's-
it. That's basically it.
Right.
I feel
right.
like that's just the EC's comic style.
It's always a
You know,
morality
it's always
tale. Yeah,
it's
always
it's
kind of-
just bad people getting what they deserve one way or another. Like you're not supposed to ever feel sympathy for them because they're just bad. Like you don't feel bad for anybody in Creepshow except for Stephen King. You know,
Yeah.
even in Creepshow 2, The Raft, the one kid, like, oh well, you're hoping he's going to get away, but no, he's literally feeling up the girl while she's asleep. Nope, he's a bad person too.
No, he's,
You know, they're all bad people and they get what they deserve. So that's why I feel like you're not supposed to feel. I get what you're saying. Like you wish that there was a little bit more of a character to it, but it's, you know, but that's just the style. Bad
I
people
feel like
get punished.
I feel like also with spooky things, like I don't always want to see a happy ending.
Oh no.
You know, it's boring after a while. I wouldn't watch anything horror related if it had a happy ending every time. If everybody got away, that's boring. Mm-hmm. We don't like that.
Romero says that in his commentary. He
Yeah.
does say that the endings have to go that way. Like that's
Yeah.
how it is. A happy ending. That's not a horror story anymore. Horror is in the revenge. It's in the fears. Like there's no fear if you know that everything's going to be back to status quo when it's all over. If everything's back
Right.
to normal, where was the horror really?
I can't wait to listen to this George Romero commentary.
I'm so curious now.
I know.
I'm so curious now.
George Romero completely ignoring what he's watching.
Yep. It's the only episode with it too. It's just the one. Like none of the others have
Amazing.
commentary.
Oh, that's funny.
Just the one episode.
Funny.
One more thing to close out. Would you recommend this as a Halloween watch? Do you think this is a good thing to watch in the month of October to get someone in the Halloween mood, vibes? Yay, nay?
Sure. Why not?
I think so.
Sure.
There's plenty of time in the month of October to fit this in there.
Got a month for 22 minutes.
I think that.
Yeah, I think it's a good. I think it specifically the monsters. There's not a lot of Halloween besides his like pranks and contraptions in the house and the jack-o'-lanterns. There's not really much else Halloween-y. It doesn't like there's no fall leaves. You don't really see anything like that. But I think that's enough. And just kind of the witch. That witch looks like a Halloween decoration. Like whenever you think of a traditional
cool.
witch, like a bestial witch face, that's what she looks like. And that's probably the most Halloween thing in this is that witch, I would say, to me. And it's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
And she's floating around. That's the creepiest thing when she floats. And, like, I don't even remember if you see do you see a broom? She just kind of levitates.
She's just floating. I don't remember. I don't
she's
think
so
maybe
creepy.
that's a stick. I don't really remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember if you see a broom. But I love that shot where you see her feet and they're hovering, like, off the ground. So eerie. It works perfectly. Any final thoughts on the Tales from the Darkside Trick or Treat?
It was a cool episode, but I feel they were better. They're a lot better episodes. It wasn't a bad one. There are a lot worse episodes.
Yes, they are. There are a lot of bad ones. I think it's a good introduction to Tales from the Darkside. I think if you've never watched this show, this is a good first episode. And whenever I see lists, and I said it earlier, of the top 10 best Tales from the Darkside episodes, this is always on there. So I'd say check it out. And I guarantee if you watch this episode, you're like, you know what? I want to watch a couple more Tales from the Darkside episodes.
Can you save your father, Timmy? Are you tough enough? Tough enough to face the haunted house?
So that was Tales from the Darkside Trick or Treat. Be sure to subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok @Haunted Hangover. Check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/hauntedhangover31.
And if you can rate and review us, that would be greatly appreciated.
And remember, the best cure for a hangover is
More booze.
catch you guys later.